What's going on, everybody? This is VJ Hunt from the Hunt Family Farm. Well, obviously we're not at the Hunt Family Farm, so we're at my house. Today's video is definitely gonna be a totally different video. I think it's something that's gonna be pretty dope and a lot of you probably gonna enjoy it. But before we move forward in this video, I would like for you to hit that subscribe button, number one. Secondly, hit that bell below for post notifications, turn those on. And then I want you to share this video because I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy what we have in store for you today. So do those three and we will move forward. So on today's agenda, we're not feeding animals, right? We're not doing that. We're not banding tails. We're not naming donkeys. We're not wrangling and we're not building a fence. We're doing something that I think that is a lost art. It's definitely an art form that I picked up, that I enjoy now, even though I don't really enjoy wine. But, well, I guess I kind of told you today we will be making wine, Hunt Family Farm wine, right? This will be my second batch, okay? Just to kind of tell you how I arrived at this point, to give you some background on the situation. This past summer was a really good summer for fruit. And on the Hunt Family Farm, we have grapes, we have apples, we have pear trees, we have peach trees, we have pomegranate trees. We do grow watermelons. We have like all of the fruit, right? And my father's business partner, Mr. Austin, he has like these grapevines that just produced like so abundantly. This year was a great year for fruit. It was a great year for grapes. And so earlier this year, I made some muscadine wine. And in making the muscadine wine, kind of how it is, I told my mom, like, Mom, I'm gonna make some wine. And she was like, okay. Well, I'm gonna make some wine out of these grapes because we had so many. And she was like, okay. And then she bought me a wine kit. So I ended up making the wine. I made it probably about September, October. It was ready in December, and I'm not really a big wine drinker, if I'm just being transparent. Not really my thing, but I did make the wine because I know I have family members that do enjoy wine, so I made it. It was a total hit at Christmas. Everybody loved it. It was really good, and so my aunt tasked me with making another batch, and so today I want you to kind of join along with me in this winemaking process. It's definitely one that is it's an art form. It's not going to be perfect. I think that it's a fine line between making wine and a good vinaigrette. I'm one of those people that have witnessed it. Some people's homemade wine tastes like vinegar. It tastes like it should go on the salad. My first batch of the muscadine wine turned out great. My actual favorite wine, though, if I am going to drink wine, has to absolutely be Seven Springs wine. I love all of their wine. It's amazing. So if you're ever in the North Carolina area, for sure, I need you to go visit Seven Springs Wine and Vineyard. It is the best wine around. I'm going to just be honest with you. I could be biased. Actually, I'm not, because I'm not a wine drinker, but I do drink this. It's amazing, right? So in starting the winemaking process, right? It's scientific. If you don't know anything about wine, the alcohol content comes from the yeast. Yeast eats sugar. The byproduct of the yeast eating the sugar is your alcohol content. So anything that you want to make wine out of, any fruits, I wouldn't make it out of any vegetables because they don't have a high sugar content, but anything with fruit could be actually made into wine. While I got your attention right now, comment down below, what are some things that you would like to make wine out of? I know for me, today we're gonna do strawberry, and it's from frozen strawberries, but I know in North Carolina in about a couple of months, it will be strawberry season. So comment down below if you would like to see me make some strawberry wine from fresh strawberries. I'm gonna try to do apple. I'm gonna try to do peach, of course, because we have peach trees. Pomegranate wine is gonna be something I'm gonna try to do. So, definitely let me know down below, what are your favorite wines and some of your favorite wine brands? I'm interested in hearing that. I am a person that actually do read the comments, so I'm for sure I'm gonna reply to you. So let me know if there is a good wine out there that you know about, a little secret that you keeping. Keep me updated. Let me know so I can go try. Because right now I told you what my favorite wine is, hands down the best wine. But if you have something that you think can top it, definitely get it to me so I can try it, and then I'll let you know in the comments. So I'm looking forward to your comments on that. We're gonna get into step one. So in step one of the winemaking process, definitely I have some no rinse cleanse, and I'm actually running water in my bucket. Right. One of the big things about winemaking, it's very, very important that everything is very sterile, very sanitized. That because yeast is such a sensitive organism, you want to make sure that every part I'm pouring it into the water. And I'll kind of show you as the water fills up, as this bucket fills up, I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of be able to look at what I have in the bucket. All right, so yeast is a very sensitive organism. Anything can kind of like throw the yeast off. So any impurities that you have, you want to definitely make sure that you sanitize everything that's going to come in contact with the yeast. So this bucket right here will be used for fermentation. This is my fermentation bucket. So here is my fermentation bucket. As you can see, it has, it's a gallon bucket, and that's what it's going to be. But inside the fermentation bucket, I have this right here is a straining net that I use for the strawberries. This right here is just a mixing spoon that I have, and I definitely want to make sure that those things are sanitized because that light is bright. I am glowing. All right, but definitely want to make sure that everything is sanitized because yeast is a very sensitive organism. And if your yeast is thrown off, then it also throws off your alcohol content. It can make your wine taste vinegary or acidic. So want to make sure that everything is properly sanitized before you even get started. All right, I'm going to kind of get into the next step of it. So the first step one, is make sure that everything is sanitized. Everything that's going to come in contact with yeast, make sure it's sanitized. So in step two, what we're going to do is, like I said, we've already sanitized everything and made sure everything is clean and ready to go. So everything has been in the sanitized solution that we will be using. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use this. It's a muddle, right? So for all my drinkers, all my mixologists, you know what this is. A muddle typically is used in, making drinks, whether it's if you're going to make like a mint julep, you want to muddle the mint, or it's a couple drinks that I particularly make where I muddle certain things. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna muddle these strawberries. So these strawberries are actually frozen strawberries. They aren't fresh, like I said. So we're just gonna muddle them. You could do this in a food processor, but because they are frozen and they're already kind of like broken down, I didn't think it was like necessary. So I'm just gonna muddle these like just the big pieces. You don't really want to, it doesn't have to be like chopped up really fine because, the yeast is going to, the strawberries we're gonna remove them anyway from there. But you do kind of want to break them up to kind of make them, you want to break it up and make it kind of soupy. I think this is a good consistency because the strawberry juice is really what we're looking for. We're not looking for the whole strawberries, but we want to make sure that we get as much juice as we can out of the strawberries in making the wine. All right, step 3 in this process is we have distilled water. So I have a gallon of distilled water. You can just get it from your local grocery store. No particular brand or anything special about it. It's just distilled water. That's what it is. We're going to take our distilled water, and we're going to pour it into a pot. So we just pour our distilled water into this pot. A gallon of distilled water into the pot. All right, distilled water into the pot. That's step 4. You want to pour the distilled water into the pot, and then we're gonna add sugar. All right. So our next step, after we muddled our strawberries, after we poured our water into the pot, the next thing we want to do is we want to go over. We have our pot right now. It is boiling. Right, we're heating up our water to boil. So what we want to do, if you're not familiar with like winemaking and how the kind of the science behind it works, is like I said, yeast. The yeast feeds off of the sugar. The sugar is the sugar. The yeast feeds the sugar, and the byproduct of the yeast feeding the sugar is your alcohol content. So people have different amounts of sugar that they add. Typically for a gallon of water, what I would like to add is about 4.5 cups of sugar. What I like to do is I like to cook the water. Well, not cook the water because you can't cook water. Obviously, you boil the water, right? You boil the water, you're gonna add your sugar, and you want your sugar to dissolve in the water. Like that's the big thing. Make sure your sugar dissolves in the water. So right now I just got regular, I probably got this. I think I got some food lines. Just regular granulated white sugar. And I'm gonna add 4 cups. I'm gonna add 5, maybe 6. It don't matter. I mean, it does matter, but I don't have exact science on exactly the number. I mean, I'll add sugar and then I'll add more sugar. I think the key thing is you want to make sure that your yeast has plenty of sugar to feed on so it can really give your wine some punch. So I'm going to add the sugar to this boiling water. Once the water comes up to a boil, I'm going to add the sugar into that. And then I'm going to show you the next step. Okay, so now that my water is up to not really a boil, but it has heated up a little bit, I'm going to add 4, can you see this? 4 cups, well, it's like 4.5. I just want to finish the bag of sugar to my water so that it will dissolve. I'm going to stir and mix it in. So walk over to the pot. Take this pot off. Boom. I'm just gonna pour all of this sugar in. Alright, and then I'm gonna grab my sanitized spoon and just stir. Just stir this sugar water mixture and let it kind of do its thing. And as the sugar dissolves into the water, you want your sugar to dissolve into the water, but you want to make sure once you're done, once the sugar does dissolve into the water, you want to make sure that it's cool because you don't want to actually cook your yeast. So you want to make sure that this mixture it dissolves and then it cools, and then you want to add your yeast to it. While we're waiting on that, what we will do is we'll take a little bit. Well, while that's doing its thing, I'll pull a little bit of the mixture off to the side, and then we'll begin to activate the yeast prior to putting it into the mixture. All right. So while we wait for our mixture to kind of boil, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour our strawberries into this straining bag, right? So we want to make sure that we get all of the contents of the strawberries. And I mean, even if some of them fall into the bucket, it's not a huge deal. But when we bottle the wine, we want to make sure that I have a straining device to get it out. But what I like to do is I like to try to get all of the contents of the strawberries into the bag. And what I'll use this spoon and a little bit to scoop them out. So we're gonna add the strawberries into the bag. The juice and everything that's in here. That's why we kind of muddle it and break it down, because that's what's going to be used to kind of flavor the wine, as well as the sugars in the strawberries. The yeast will feed on, which will also increase the alcohol content. But in order to get the alcohol content to where we need it to be, these strawberries alone don't have enough of the sugar content that we need. So that's why we're over there making simple syrup or boiled water and sugar. All right, so while we wait, we're going to squeeze the juice. And this is extremely cold because, Jesus Christ, they were frozen strawberries. So I definitely suggest that you let them thaw to room temperature, but I'm just squeezing. I've been squeezing a little bit off camera, but I just want to show you. You want to get as much of the juice out as you possibly can, right? So we're going to still leave this bag in there, but this is just the muddled up strawberries. So squeeze as much juice. I have quite a bit of juice in here. And as we add the water to it and it begins to kind of break down and ferment, it'll be plenty of, the juice will definitely make it out of the bag. All right, now we get down to the science part of it. So we've boiled the water with the sugar in it. I'm letting that cool because you don't want to add hot water to yeast or whatever. So what I did was I was able to pull a little bit of that, a little bit of the water out, the sugar and water mixture out. And so now what we want to do is I let this cool separately. Obviously, this will cool faster than the big pot, but what we want to do is activate our yeast before adding it into our mixture. So to activate the yeast, we have this cooled water. We're using Red Star yeast. Let me see that. I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of it. Depending on, it's really one of those things where if you look up different recipes and different people, they're gonna tell you different amounts, whatever. I'm kind of winging it, so I don't have the exact science behind it. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of yeast to the mixture of sugar water just to activate it prior to putting it in. Now, you can always, in my last batch, I was able to add more yeast if I felt like I needed it. Once you make the wine and add the mixture, and you're gonna want to let it sit for a while. Once you take the airlock off, you'll be able to kind of sample it. A lot of the times the yeast does not finish fermenting in, so if you need to add more sugar, if you want your alcohol content higher, I'm assuming, again, this is all like my theories and tasting my wine and how it made people feel. Everybody, say they had some kick to it. But what I did was I always added more sugar to it. So adding more sugar, obviously, the yeast eats more, which creates more of an alcohol content, if that makes sense. So what I'm about to do now is I'm gonna cut this open and grab some scissors real quick. Well, I thought I had some scissors over there. Where are my freaking scissors? All right, we're gonna do it. I had scissors. I promise you I did. You know what? We're gonna do this thing the Hunt Family Farm Country way. All right, that's all you need, a little tear. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a tablespoon of, about a tablespoon and a half, I think, of yeast. It's so weird how yeast is a living organism. So if you look at this, like, let me make it where you guys can actually view this stuff. So if you are like looking at yeast, like that's what yeast look like. It's just like, that's the stuff that gets you drunk. Right? It just looks like little granulated whatever, right? But that is what is the agent that gets people drunk. And so when it comes to wine, and so let me set this tripod up. Okay, boom. So what we're going to do is we're gonna add two. We're gonna do half a teaspoon, just because the opening is not that big. You know what? Tablespoon of yeast into my sugar. So a tablespoon of yeast, that's what that is. Let me grab the camera so you guys can actually see what's gonna happen. It's really weird. It's like a science project for real. This is really cool how it works. So I'm gonna take this yeast and I'm going to pour this into here. I'm not gonna give it a stir or anything. I'm just gonna let it sit. Right? I'm just gonna let it sit for about 15 to maybe 15, 20 minutes. When we come back, it looks like it's just bubbling up. At that point, the water should be cool enough to where we'll be able to add it to our bucket. We'll be able to add it to our bucket. So in the bucket right now, that looks, I get it. It doesn't look very appetizing, but that is a sterile bag with strawberries and strawberry juice. That's the only thing that's in this bucket. Doesn't look pretty right now, but trust me, once we start getting on the fermentation and I strain it and I run it through our strainers and I cleanse it with the different toners and everything, it's going to look great and it's going to taste amazing. Trust me, I am sure of it because I've done it before. So I'm gonna let this yeast do its thing for a moment, and then we'll get back. All right, and so we'll get to kind of the final steps. We've activated our yeast. It is really interesting. It's really like a science project. So let's look. So as you can see, our yeast has come alive, right? Which is exactly what we wanted to happen. Definitely want to make sure your yeast comes alive, because if it doesn't do that, then yeast is probably dead, which means you won't have a alcohol content for your wine. So step number one is we're gonna take our mixture of water. Let me see if I can do this without screwing it up. We've let it cool for about 30, 45 minutes. So what I'm gonna do, let me try to see if I can set this up for us. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the sugar water that we created and I'm gonna pour it into our fermentation bucket. All right. So now that that water has been added to it, we have our bag I showed you earlier. We have a bag with a strawberry in it. The water is not, it's not cold, but it's not hot either. It's at a warm temperature right now. It's gonna cool it. It should not kill the yeast because it isn't too hot. The next thing we're gonna add is what I call yeast nutrient. All right, yeast nutrient. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon of yeast nutrient to our bag, and this is just something that helps the yeast survive. This is just, so you just sprinkle this yeast nutrient in. Just something that'll help me, like I said, help the yeast survive, help the yeast maintain its life. What I like to do also is just, I don't know, just because I know I mean, even though we added 5 cups of sugar to the, just gonna add a little bit more sugar to that mixture. And then the very last thing that I'm gonna add is, well, hold on, where's my spoon? I want to make sure that I push everything down in the bottom. So all of the contents of the bag, I want to make sure that it's in there. This last bit of sugar, I want to kind of stir that in. And then the very last thing I'm going to add to this is our yeast. So we're going to just pour the yeast in there. That's the very last step. You want to add the yeast to it. Well, it's not the very last step, but we want to add yeast to it. I tend to, and it's probably not the right thing, but I tend to add a little bit more yeast. Just in the event that my yeast doesn't do well. But adding more yeast could up the alcohol content. I'm not sure. I don't know. I think it will. But I added more sugar, added more yeast. Now we're going to take our lid and we're going to put that on top and we're going to seal this. Now, something that that is very, very, very important is having, what did I have it? I had it. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay. So we have this apparatus here, right? And what this apparatus is very, very important. So what this is this actually locks in. So the byproduct of yeast, I think it's carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, one of them. Well, we want to seal this bucket. And we want to be able to let the gases out without letting oxygen in. So this is a water lock. So we're going to add water to this. And so what'll happen is as the gases are released, the gas can release, but we don't let oxygen back in. So we'll fill that up. All right. Oops, drop that. So we're going to seal that off. And we're going to take this and we're going to put it in our bucket right there. So as you see, we want to seal that bucket, make sure that bucket is sealed well. Okay? And as the yeast goes in and it ferments and it eats the sugars and it produces the ethanol, which becomes your alcohol for your wine, it will release the gas. And so I'm gonna let this sit for probably about a month. And then, well, I'm gonna let it sit for a week and then I'm gonna strain it. I'm gonna pull the strawberries out and then I'm gonna let it sit for about a month. And then after the month, I'll strain it again. And if I need to add more sugar or whatever the case may be, I'll do that. But like I said, what I want to do is I want you to subscribe. Definitely subscribe. Definitely comment down below if you enjoy wine making videos or if you enjoy wine. I'm going to make sure that I keep you guys updated on this wine making process. It's just something that we do in the spare time. I mean, I'm the only winemaker in the Hunt family farm. My sister does talk about potentially making mead, which is a kind of a wine or fermented drink made from honey. So if you want more videos like this, definitely comment down below. If you have any questions about the winemaking process, I'm no expert by far. Don't even for a second think that I'm the guy to give you winemaking tips. But if you have a question, I can answer it as best I can. I'll definitely keep you updated on how my winemaking process works throughout the videos. So if you haven't subscribed, again, subscribe. So if you turn on those post notifications so that when I do speak of wine, and if you do enjoy these winemaking videos, you will be able to get notified or updated on how my wine tastes. I'm gonna be honest with you. If it tastes like vinegar or if it tastes bad, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I believe in being transparent with you guys. And until next episode, peace.